Welcome into DNVR Buffs Live. We are, of course, presented by the American Raptors. Head on over to AmericanRaptors.com. Grab your free ticket for one of their rugby matches or stream all their games. If you didn't get the ticket you wanted as an elite athlete, check out the opportunities at Infinity Park. Rugby just may be your next ride. My name is Jake Schwanitz. What a show we have today, Henry.
What a show.
First off, welcome back to the show, man.
I know, it's been forever. I'm not going to lie. I missed a couple Buffs games this year.
That's all right. I think that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get into the show, lots to get into in terms of this coaching carousel and, of course, Deion Sanders.
Yep.
Your impressions from this Buff season?
They're bad. They're bad. I mean, they won a game somehow.
They did.
That's all credit to Mike Sanford.
Did you expect this? Because you were covering this
No.
team up until the summer. Did you expect 1-11?
No, I don't know how you could expect it to be this bad. I mean, I don't think I ever put out like an official prediction. I would have guessed like 3 wins, probably 4 wins.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's just a nightmare. I mean, they don't have a quarterback, the running back situation, the offensive line. You see Van Wells got on the Pro Football Focus.
Yes.
All freshman national team.
How about that?
That's cool.
He
That's
got
cool.
he got an NIL deal from the Bus for Life
Nice.
NIL Collective.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
I do wonder how much those kids are making these days. I'm not plugged in enough. Because you see stuff like, yeah, you know, they're making this money. It's what I wonder. Because back when I was up there, it didn't feel like any of them were really making that much money. Maybe there
Right.
were like 1 or 2, but for the most part, it was come eat here for free in exchange for tweets, which is a good deal. But
right.
hopefully they get that figured out. I have a feeling that's going to change soon.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
a lot of things are about to change very, very soon for the Colorado Buffaloes football program. Let's get into the show, man. We're going to recap some of the things that have happened today. The coaching carousel has just been insane.
Yep.
A couple hires, some rumors. We start off with a guy who was a Buffs candidate, Tom Herman, just hired at FAU, where Lane Kiffin kind of,
Yep.
what's the word? I guess recovered his career, I guess. Your initial thoughts on that move, and is this a bad sign for the Buffs that some of these candidates are kind of getting?
I don't think so. I mean, it's FAU.
Right.
If Colorado wanted Tom Herman, I have a feeling he'd pick Colorado over FAU. What do I know, though? I mean, maybe there's something about Florida Atlantic University that really stands out. It's not going to be the paycheck that stands out.
No.
I mean, I think there's one reason why the Buffs don't have a coach yet. You know, there's all those rumors floating around. I feel like it's pretty obvious at this point.
It is. Also, another guy who Ryan and I talked about when we did our show for the Buffs head coaching tier list, Jamie Chadwell,
Yep.
the coach at Coastal Carolina. He was rumored to be going to USF yesterday. Development as I was driving in, it looks like Liberty is zoning in on him to be their next head coach. Another school where Hugh Freeze just got the big jump back up to Power 5.
Yep.
Is this a lateral move, though, going from Coastal to Liberty?
I think it's a step down. I do. Yeah.
Step
I mean,
down.
Liberty's not quite on that tier. I mean, Coastal's been competitive top 25 wise.
Right.
I guess Liberty, have they squeaked into the rankings a couple times?
They were ranked at one point this year also.
So, I mean, it's not too much of a step down, but I do think it's a slight step down just in terms of what you expect from those schools at this point.
Right. I guess the third one to get to, this one was crazy to follow today. In a span of a few hours, it was reported that Brian Hartline, the wide receivers coach at Ohio State, was reported to be interviewing at Cincinnati. It looked like things were moving that way. Then he comes out, tweets himself. He's staying at Ohio State.
Yep.
Now he's no longer even considered a candidate by many. How big of a threat is Cincinnati right now?
They're a threat. I think they are the threat. I think that if Deion Sanders doesn't come to Colorado, it's because he's going to Cincinnati. I honestly think it's as simple as that. And, you know, I mentioned it before, but the way this is all played out, there just aren't a lot of reasons for the for the Buffs to not have their head coach yet.
Right.
Like there just isn't. The other rumor was Bronco Mendenhall.
Yes.
Again, you could have him by now if that was the direction that things were going. And there's one coach out there who was in this kind of final list of candidates who wouldn't be attainable until this weekend. Meanwhile, we've all been stuck in this limbo for a week now? Something like that, maybe even
Probably
more.
more than a week, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, yes, definitely. It feels like everything's pointing toward, you know, they play the SWAC championship Saturday. I would guess that Saturday night maybe is when somebody says like,
Yep.
this just in, the blah 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 blah. I know people outside of here aren't quite as optimistic, but the way I see it, like it all feels too obvious at this point. Especially, I mean, the clip. If I guess I'm not to steal the show,
we'll show it in a bit. Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, there's just everything is pointing that direction.
Right.
And I think what was the final report yesterday that recruits were telling? I can't remember which. Was it Brett McMurphy?
I think this is a Sean Keeler article, actually.
Oh, that's a different one. I think it was Brett McMurphy who reported that Deion Sanders is telling players that he's going to have a school on Sunday.
Yes.
Which again it's the exact timeline we expect. Who knows though? I mean, it is Deion Sanders. Like Cincinnati could swoop in. That's the one really scary thing. The other scary thing is he did all this for attention and is going to say, no, I'm sticking with Jackson State. We're doing all this. And that's a threat. Again, the Buffs would have their head coach by now if they thought it was anybody but Deion.
I think that's accurate analysis. Might as well mention this article from Keeler, though, because I thought this was interesting. Cherry Creek's Blake Purchase has committed to the Oregon Ducks. Broomfield's Cole LaCrue has committed to Wisconsin. Both have said Deion Sanders coming to see you would make them consider joining the Buffs.
Yeah. I mean, I've got two thoughts. The first one is, I mean, duh.
Yeah.
Like, of course you would consider staying home if Deion Sanders is the coach here. Second thought is, if you're committed to Oregon, why would you say this? Like, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I not to hate on him, and I didn't actually read it, but I saw the headline. I was like, it seems a little bit weird that he would just come out and say this. But again, it's Deion Sanders. Who could blame him?
This is something we talked about in the Discord. I don't think we've talked about it on a show or we've really reported it yet, but Deion Sanders, defensive back coach at Jackson State, about a week ago, he followed Blake Purchase on Twitter, followed Jordan Tyson on Twitter, and Colorado football.
And wasn't there another report today that Deion Sanders knows who his head coach or his defensive coordinator would be?
Yep.
There's another arrow pointing that way. I mean, that adds up. Mike Zimmer was kind of where I was thinking that could go. I'm not sure exactly what his contract situation's like. Mike Zimmer, though, it's crazy to think about. 14 years as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Right before that, he was Deion Sanders' defensive backs coach with the Cowboys the entire time that Deion was in Dallas. So Zimmer goes on 14 years as a defensive coordinator, 8 years, obviously, as a head coach with the Vikings right after that. Next job, analyst at Jackson State. Like, it's crazy to be able to pull somebody like that. And again, it's because he can keep cashing the paychecks because he doesn't have a coaching title. But that's a hell of a pull. And that's why there was a part of me that thought, if this is what's happening, if he really does have a defensive coordinator, that name kind of jumps out and it'd be exciting. But that's the easy read. He's following guys on Twitter.
Right. I mean, it's about as public as you can be without coming out and saying it almost.
Totally.
Final wrap up here with this coaching carousel. It looks like USF kind of maybe outkicked their coverage in terms of this coaching search. They were in talks to potentially get Deion Sanders. Yesterday it was about Jamie Chadwell. Jamie Chadwell's gone now. Looks like Deion Sanders has narrowed it down to Cincinnati and Colorado. Are they a threat anymore? Is USF a threat?
I never thought they were a threat. Again, it is Colorado, right? Like, you understand why somebody would not want to go to Colorado. Like, you look at what happened on the field this year, how the regions treat the program, that sort of stuff. But USF, like, Colorado should be able to pull a better coach than USF. And I mean, that was kind of the other piece, though. Obviously, that USF and Colorado were kind of that final two.
Right.
Cincinnati potentially changes some things because they swooped in. But who knows? I mean, as of now, again, I think it's pretty clear. I'm feeling confident.
Who knows? We've talked a lot about him. We've kind of danced around the topic. Let's talk about Deion Sanders. But before, I want to tell you about our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook, where right now new customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. You can also check up their stepped-up same-game parlays where everyone can boost their winnings up to 100%. How you been doing on DraftKings this year?
Pretty good. I'm up. I'm really excited. I actually been meaning to go back through and look at my season-long bets. I know there's a couple bad ones. I know I was in on the Packers for one. Utah to win the Pac-12. I guess that is still alive, isn't it?
Technically.
It is still alive, isn't it? Never mind. So that one's not so bad. I had Treylon Burks under 725.5 receiving yards.
Beautiful.
Going to hit by a mile. DeAndre Swift under 825.5 rushing yards. That's going to hit by a mile. So, I mean, without looking at the numbers, I think things are going pretty well.
Love to hear that. Not so good for me, but maybe you guys would have better luck if you sign up using the code DNVR. Place a $5 bet on any NFL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code DNVR. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Also, shout out to our friends over at Athletic Greens. I take Athletic Greens every day. Get that 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens in you, especially as we are moving through cold and flu season. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/buffs. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/buffs to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Let's talk about Deion Sanders, Henry.
Yep.
I sent Kale a clip earlier. A lot of people may have seen this. Go ahead and roll this for us, Kale.
But you know my favorite team is the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Next week they play the Denver Broncos in Colorado. I'm going with you, and we gonna ride together.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's a good. Now that's a good one. That's a good one there. I gotta admit, now that's a good one. That's a good one there. That was a good one. Come on, sit back down here. Come on. So why you gonna do your boy like that?
No. I never been there. And
Me either.
But I'm going.
I played there.
Well, I'm going next week when the Chiefs play Bronco in Colorado, Denver, Colorado.
What you trying to say?
I just want to know. Can we ride together?
Where am I going?
What do you think? Well, let's go. So they're playing this week. My team played the Bengals.
Oh, you ain't no good, man.
But Coach, I'm just asking.
No good.
Coach, you told me that.
I ain't tell you what.
You told the fella. They told the man they'll ask a question.
Yeah.
He asked a question, and he asking all this stuff about your beard and all that. You ain't said. But when I asked you, can I ride with you to Colorado?
Why would you assume I'm going to Colorado?
I don't. Cause you'd have been to all these places. I've never been to Colorado.
But why would you assume I'm going to Colorado?
No,
Could you ride with me?
No, I'm just.
Those Kansas City Chiefs. That's good stuff, though. Is the Chiefs playing at the real?
Yes. Season be over with. And look, the season be over. So we go together, Coach.
No, you got to stop, man.
Okay,
this is good though. I got to admit, this is your best one up. This is your best one up. You thought that thing got though. You thought that thing got. I give you though. You thought that thing.
I ain't asked you no questions about it.
Probably one of the most clever ways I've seen a reporter ask currently sitting head coach about another job.
Yeah.
But I think maybe I'm reading too much into it, Henry. But I feel like we gained some information from that clip.
Yeah. I mean, he did also say, like, this week they play the Bengals. That part didn't really take off. There's the Cincinnati thing right there, potentially. But, again, maybe this is like Steve Sarkisian from the last
Ryan Day
coaching search when Sark was supposed to be coming to Colorado, but it turned out that he just went through the process to get a massive raise and wind up making more money as Alabama's offensive coordinator than he would have made as Colorado's head coach. Like, there is stuff like that happens. I mean, that thing can't happen 1-to-1 this time because Jackson State is not going to just pony up a bunch of money to give to Deion. I don't even know if Deion cares. I mean, he's just donating half his salary back to the school right now to upgrade the locker room and do all that sort of stuff. So who knows? Like, Deion's unpredictable. Terrible things happen to the University of Colorado. So you can't be totally sure, but there's a whole bunch of arrows pointing at Deion Sanders right now, and it's a lot of fun.
So let's have some fun then. Let's speculate. If the Buffs do hire Deion Sanders to be their next head coach, what does year one look like? Just in terms of, coaching staff, the roster, the transfer portal, NIL. I mean, you pick one. Which one do you want to get into first?
I mean, transfer portal's easy. You take Shadur Sanders. Is that how you say it? I believe that's how you say it. That's his son. He's going into his third year, his junior year, but true junior year. Started the last 2 years at quarterback at Jackson State. Chose Jackson State over Bama among other offers. Completed 70% of his passes this year. You would imagine he's following his dad.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure Primetime even said a couple weeks ago that he expects his son to be a Heisman candidate this year. Now, I don't expect him to be a Heisman candidate, but if you're going to be a Heisman candidate, you're not going to be doing that at Jackson State.
Right.
Like it's that I'm not 100% sure. I will confidently say Jackson State's never had a Heisman candidate.
No, but they did have a number 1 overall recruit last year. In Travis Hunter, he plays wide receiver for the Jackson State football team right now. How many of these guys could potentially come over, are we expecting?
I mean, the elephant in the room is the rules about transferring into Colorado.
Yes.
Yeah, I would imagine, because there was the report a few weeks ago. I'm not sure if that was on the record. I can't remember whose report it was even, but they were saying the school is considering changing the rules for transfers to make it easier to get players into the football program through the portal. It's I would imagine if Deion Sanders is coming, that has been solved. Like, I don't think he would be interested if the Buffs were using the same rules for the transfer portal they have been, because that just makes it almost impossible to be competitive. So there is that one piece. You don't know who's going to be allowed in, but you would imagine that if you're the number 1 recruit in the country, you didn't go to Jackson State because you like Jackson State. You went there because Deion Sanders is your coach, a very good defensive back.
He was committed to Florida State.
Yep. There you go. And so you would think he would follow him. And maybe he winds up going to Florida State or something like that instead. I would imagine Deion brings him with.
Super exciting stuff to talk about.
Totally.
I mean, just on that transfer portal stuff, I believe it was Brian Howell or Adam Munster-Tiger that reported that a couple weeks ago. They're assumingly going to hire a coach on Sunday, is what we've heard.
Yep.
I mean, Rick George is going to be there. What a perfect time to announce that you've changed some transfer requirements while you're introducing potentially Deion Sanders as your next head coach.
Yeah.
Let's get a little bit deeper then. What would your expectations be for year 1 under Deion Sanders? You can throw a win on it. I mean, you got big rivalry games to start off the year against Nebraska and Colorado State, both in Folsom. Is it just simply going 2-1 in those first 3 games? You play TCU to open the year again. You win those 2 rivalry games. Maybe you steal a couple wins in the Pac-12. Is 5 wins acceptable in year 1?
5 wins is definitely acceptable. I mean, it's CU. If you get 5 wins, you've hit that's the number here.
Stanford's on the schedule next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. How many times have they won 5 games in the last decade?
Not very many.
I mean, yeah, but they've only gone over once. They had that stretch where it was just 5-7, 5-7. Yeah, if they win 5 games, you're happy. It's tough to put a number on it right now just because you don't know how everything plays out. You know, it could be a situation where they hit the portal hard and you're saying, well, they just pulled half their team in from the portal. And if that's the case, there's no reason they can't make a bowl game. I think, obviously, looking at what happened this season, bowl game cannot be the expectation.
Right.
That can't be the standard. If you win 3 games, that's probably good progress.
Yeah.
But because it's Deion Sanders, because of the recruiting he could do, a lot more doors are open. And that's really why he's a perfect candidate for Colorado, because the flaws for him are the potential coaching abilities and that sort of stuff. You just got to start by getting athletes in the door.
Yep.
And, you know,
Roster has to get better.
Why wouldn't Auburn want Deion Sanders? Well, because what Deion Sanders does is recruit, and Auburn recruits itself. Like, you can do all that stuff without Deion Sanders. And so why take the risk on the coaching side? That's, again, I think Colorado's a good fit.
Going back to 2012, no, you're good. Going back to 2012, the Buffs have only gotten over 5 wins 4 times, and it was in a 4-year stretch. It was between 2015 and 2019, or sorry, 2016 and 2019. 2016, of course, the 10-win season, 5 wins the 3 years after that. Interesting stuff. I think this is something we talked about a lot on the draft pod in the summer, was just with how much the landscape of college football was changing with the portal, with NIL, with realignment, and talking to you and Justin at the time when you were on the beat, I mean, you guys were concerned for your schools because for CU, because I mean, they obviously looked like they were falling behind.
Oh yeah.
Does simply getting Deion on board get them in the conversation? Are they safe in terms of conference realignment? Are they able to compete in terms of NIL?
See, the thing about conference realignment is that, like, CU can't get kicked out of the Pac-12. Only thing that can happen is the Pac-12 keeps losing teams. And, you know, if you wind up in a situation and you're losing USC, you're probably losing UCLA, you lose Oregon, Washington, then maybe you do become like this in-between sort of conference. But in terms of realignment, I don't get scared for CU in any way. Because, again, they can't get kicked out, which would have been the concern when you win one game. But I do think that Deion obviously raises the standards if that were to happen. And again, it just opens so many doors. Like you know that you're not going to have talent issues.
Right.
Deion can recruit to Jackson State. He can absolutely recruit to Colorado. That won't be an issue.
Absolutely. I guess we'll table the Deion talk for another time now. We've done it quite a bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about CU basketball. They're, of course, playing Arizona State tonight. I believe the Buffs are 4-point favorites on DraftKings Sportsbook if you want to get in on that. This team's been so up and down, man. I mean, just inconsistent across the board, defensively, shooting, rebounding. Have you watched much CU basketball this year, and just your thoughts?
Yeah, they had some poorly timed games. That Tennessee game, for example, was the same time the Broncos played.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, I can sneak it on for like the last 5 minutes. Turns out the last 5 minutes weren't competitive at that point, which is a good thing.
Yep.
So I missed a couple of those. I've seen some losses. But yeah, I've been pretty plugged in.
Good to hear then. Of course, Evan Batty, Jabari Walker, two guys that really needed to be, I mean, they played such a big role for this team on and off the court. We've seen KJ step up a bit. Tristan had a big game on, what was it, Sunday, I believe it was, when they played Yale. So those two guys have stepped up. But Javon Hadley, he has been very impressive. Only at 6'6", plays guard. But, man, the physicality and toughness he plays in has been a game changer for this team. He returned on Sunday. He will be back playing again tonight. How confident are we feeling about this team? Not fully healthy. I mean, Hadley could be healthier, but how confident are we against Arizona State this evening?
I feel good. I actually thought that game was tomorrow. Wait, is it tomorrow?
It's tonight, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
That's where I'm going after this.
Okay. Wow. It is today. Wow, that really throws my. I was considering going to that. I guess I'm not. Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, your first conference game, it definitely matters. It's one of those where maybe this is just like following the Buffs for a few years, and not the basketball program. Basketball program's been awesome, but like if they win, you get all excited for the season. If they lose, you're like, it's a young team. They'll figure it out. Plenty of time.
Right.
Arizona State's a test, though. And I think that just looking at how the season has gone, you know, 2 really good wins, 2 really, really bad losses, nothing makes sense. And this is another team that should be pretty above average, maybe just a little. Like, these are probably 4th best to 6th best teams, somewhere around there, you would guess, in the Pac-12 this year. So it is kind of telling in terms of just what the Buffs are. If they can go out there and just play a competitive basketball game, I think there's a lot of reason to be excited for this season. If they go out there and you know, make a statement, beat them down, then that opens up a lot of possibilities. Because I think, again, 2 really good wins. You see what KJ's doing. Tristan's really taking his game to another level. They seem to have a lot of the pieces in place. They just need to keep fitting a little bit more together. You know,
It's consistency.
Exactly. Lawson Lovering. Like, he seems like he's just a half step away from being a really, really impactful player.
He's getting there.
Exactly. So you see how this could all work. But if, while we have all these questions, they're able to just go get a win over Arizona State, it settles things down a bit.
It would be their first consecutive wins of the season if they won tonight.
It would be,
they have alternated wins and losses to this point. It's worth noting Arizona State, while they are 6-1, they've had kind of a weird season too. They beat Michigan in the Legends Classic, beat them by 25 points. That was a couple weeks ago. They actually also lost in this Pac-12 SWAC Legacy Series too to Texas Southern. They lost by a point in overtime. This is on November 13th. So an ugly loss for them, ugly loss for the Buffs. The SWAC is really, I mean, this Legacy Series between the SWAC and the Pac-12 maybe not gone how the Pac-12.
Such a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't play road games against bad teams. You're just asking for trouble. And it's really cool to support those schools. And I just hope they're not doing it because they want to look good. Mm-hmm. And I have a bad feeling that they're like, oh, you know what recruits will like is us supporting HBCUs. And it's like, yes, it's good to support those schools. How much can you really prioritize it, though? And is it worth playing road games across the country against... I mean, what? That was like team number 320 out of 350 in Ken
They
Palm.
were down there, yeah.
Those games just aren't worth the risk. The games aren't worth the risk. So, again, applaud the Pac-12 for doing this. But it does feel like the Pac-12 kind of tripping over itself in the ways that it always does.
In football and basketball.
Yeah.
Also interesting to note, Arizona State also played Grambling. They beat them by 31 points.
As they should. Honestly, that's probably too close.
They had them at home.
Yep. That would do it.
The Buffs had to go to Grambling. They had to play in that small arena.
Yep.
It was awkward. There was maybe 15 people there.
Mm-hmm. What'd be really nice to see is just a nice, sharp shooting game.
Yes.
If they just knock down their shots, no missed layups, just make the shots that looks like you should make, and then build from there. Because I'm not sure what the numbers say. I would guess. Actually, I did. So they're very close to the bottom. They might be like 11th out of 12 in field goal percentage, but I think they're second in shots taken.
That's not surprising to me.
No, they're finding ways to get shots up. They just need them to fall. And again, that's a formula that allows you to beat Tennessee and lose to Grambling State.
Right.
So just having that sort of, just don't do dumb things feels like what you say about every college basketball game.
Right.
But for the Buffs in particular, just like when it looks like the ball should go in, just put it in. Just start doing that.
I mean, you said you want to see a good shooting night. I'll take an average shooting night at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're shooting 49, 50, 51%, I think that's enough to win with how dynamic they are and just their ways that they're able to score and defend. I wrote this article on Javon Hadley last night, and I threw these stats in there. Colorado's inconsistency on both sides of the floor has been the story of the season so far. In CU's 4 wins, the Buffs have a field goal percentage of 47.5%. In their 3 losses, Colorado's only hit 36.7% of their shots. When tallying up all 7 games, the Buffs ranked 256th in the country in total field goal percentage at 42.8%.
I believe it. It all adds up. I think it's easy to see what's going wrong too. You know, sometimes you look at that and it's like, well, what is that? They're blowing layups. Like they're getting open shots that they're missing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like they're chucking up shots that shouldn't go in.
They're not bad shots.
No, they're getting good shots. They're just not making them. And you wonder if maybe that's just what this team is. Like, is KJ Simpson just, 33% three-point shooter? And if he is, you can get by with it. You can get by with it. But you need just a couple of guys to step up and make jump shots consistently. And more than anything, it's the layups. Just don't miss layups.
Right.
That's what drives you insane.
I mean, they've had too many games at this point where they're shooting 50% on their layups, which, I mean, you look at 50% in basketball and you go, okay, not bad. But not when you're right under the basket and you see how many of these shots just clank off the rim and all of a sudden it's going the other way now.
Yep.
Let's make a couple predictions before we head out tonight. Who is going to lead the Buffs in scoring tonight?
I mean, I feel like you got to take KJ. It's a simple it's a simple call. Like, he's the leading scorer by a wide margin. It'd be fun if it's Tristan. He has it in him. Give me KJ. He's going to take a bunch of shots. I think they're going to go in.
I'm going to go with Tristan. I think that he's playing with a newfound aggressiveness that both he and Tad talked about after the game on Sunday. Hopefully that's able to continue. I mean, it'd be huge for the Buffs if they have that solid player in Tristan Da Silva who can, I mean, if he puts up 14 points, 8 rebounds a game, I mean, you take that almost at this point. Who wins?
Give me Colorado.
Let's go.
Like, it feels like a toss-up. And when that's the case, you take the home team. So I'm going to think with my brain and not my heart, because obviously I want them to win. I am a little bit disappointed I'm not going to this game. I might.
You want to jump in the car with me?
See if we can get a credential real quick.
I've got 3 in the car.
Oh wow. I'm tempted. Yeah, I mean, we've seen the highs, and I'm gonna buy into those and not the lows. Yep.
I'm going to take the Buffs to win tonight too. Thank you everyone who stopped in and watched. As always, keep it tuned in at DNVR Buffs. Follow the Twitter at DNVR_Buffs. Follow me actually at Jake DNVR. Henry at Henry Chisholm.
Yep.
He's got you covered on Broncos. It's going to be a huge week for the Buffs.
It is.
So make sure you're following those Twitters. I feel like I'm going to be working nonstop this weekend because of this. And we have a basketball game on Sunday against Washington. So
It's not stopping after the weekend either.
No, it's
you see
not.
Warren Sapp wants to coach at CU. If
I did
Deion's
see
here?
that. Yeah.
Again, like Warren Sapp shows up in a kid's living room. How can you if he says
Deion.
I want to teach you how to be an NFL defensive lineman? Who's turning him down? Not me. I'm not turning him down.
I can turn you into an NFL defensive lineman.
Yep.
You can play for Deion Sanders, and you get to live in Boulder, Colorado.
Can't beat that.
Can't beat that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We will be back later in the week. I think we'll do a podcast probably Sunday after everything's kind of wrapped up. Maybe an emergency show at some point.
Yep.
But thank you all for tuning in. Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.